I get this next name right. You know her as senior writer at ESPN.com, covering the NBA. It's our pleasure to welcome in Ramona Shelburne to the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Welcome in, Ramona. How are you this afternoon?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing good. Want to pick your brain about everything going on in the NBA this offseason, but let's start right here with the Sacramento Kings. How did you feel about the path that they took this offseason to kind of run it back and invest in what they got here rather than taking a big swing at a free agent out there?
I mean, I like it in the sense that we just watched a team that won the NBA title do that for the past 4 or 5 years, right?
True.
They kind of improved at the margins every year rather than change the core. And if you feel good about your core, you just lock in and keep it together. And I felt like, I don't know, I keep thinking back on that Warriors-Kings series. I covered a lot of those games. And there was something about the Warriors, like, and it was something Mike Brown said earlier in the year, and he said, you know, there's something about you got to believe in yourself. Like, it's so much of this game is about belief, and do you believe that you can win? And I think the Kings believe they can win now, but like while they were in that series, there was sort of an acknowledgement that the Warriors might come back. Like, there's sort of, well, let's.
Oh, sorry about that, Ramona. That was a glitch in the system. Go right ahead.
I was wondering if it was me. I was like, what happened? You were kind of wondering, like, if they really believed that they could beat the Warriors, right? And there was, like, they certainly, like, there were some guys they did. Like, D. Fox, I thought he looked like he came to play. And, but there was a sort of, like, even in that Game 7, it just wasn't as competitive in that sort of belief in yourself that you're really going to win this thing. That I think they need, that's the biggest hurdle for them, you know? Now, when they made that trade where they traded Rashawn Holmes on draft day, I thought they were clearing some cap space for Kyle Kuzma or somebody else, right? Like they were positioning themselves, and somebody kind of pointed me on that, like, well, we are doing that, but we're also just making more money for our own guys, right? Like there was a sense like they had some thought that maybe they could go get somebody, but it was also they were happy to just keep their group together. And then obviously they've added at the margins a bit. I can't say the guy from overseas name. I would butcher that right now, but yeah.
So with the Kings in the situation of like where they are right now, this is an honor for me to be on here talking to you. And thank you for that follow on Twitter. Just to let you know, this is Kenny Thomas here. But what are a couple pieces outside of Kyle Kuzma that you feel like the Kings need to actually take them to the next level?
I mean, look, you saw it with Draymond, right? Like, how did the Warriors win that series? As much as it was Steph going for 50, like, it was also Draymond and Looney were awesome on the interior. And it sort of, I thought it took Sabonis out of his game. You never really saw the best of him after a while. And it's, at some point, like, they got to improve on the interior, right? You got to find a way to get Sabonis to be Sabonis when it matters. And like, he was outstanding all year long, but when in those critical last games, I didn't think you saw his best, right? So is that on him? Is that scheme? Is that having somebody next to him that's more of a beefy five that can make somebody like Draymond or Loon, feel them? I don't know, right? But that's why I thought Kuz might be able to help. He's not beefy, but he certainly can do some dirty work, like maybe something like that.
Who did you think, Ramona, talking with Ramona Shelburne, ESPN here on Sactown Sports, who do you think helped themselves out the most with what they did this offseason in the NBA?
I mean, I like what Indiana did. That's not going to be an exciting answer. I thought they did a lot. Like that's a team that like went from being out of the playoffs to like maybe putting themselves in that playoff conversation, especially with Halliburton and some of the trades they made. I mean, I like Obi Toppin, right? Like I like some of the guys they went and got. There's this. It's interesting. Like Denver they lost guys. They didn't gain guys, but there's this sense that maybe they have young guys that can step into the roles of guys they lost. But Cleveland did a lot. None of these are exciting answers. Sorry, I'm saying it.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine.
Right? Like I thought the Lakers did well. They kept their guys and they added. But I think probably Phoenix is the right answer here. Getting Bradley Beal. Obviously, they're still going to have depth issues. They made certain choices to go, okay, we're going to go for the star rather than add a bunch of guys on the mid level and stuff like that. But they certainly got a star, and I don't know how it's going to fit all together. They still got to get something out of DeAndre Ayton, but he's still on the roster, which is a good thing. So I guess Phoenix is probably the team that made the biggest move, and then you could put Houston in the conversation. I think they'll be a lot better than they were last year. But what is that saying? They were in the lottery last year.
Right.
How do you feel about this in-season tournament that starts in November? All 30 teams, and there's 6 groups, and like how do you feel about that? And then the championship is going to be in December, and the wins and the stats, they all go towards the regular season. How do you feel about this in-season tournament?
I mean, how do you feel? Like
I feel the same way. Like back when I played, it's totally different. I'm like, this is crazy right now.
I mean, look, do I think more guys are going to play in games because you have an in-season tournament? Not necessarily. Like, do I think if you get to the end, if you're one of the final 4 teams or whatever it is, maybe that'll matter. But for the most part, I think this feels like something they're creating to be able to sell off in the next broadcast deal. Like you can just sell the in-season tournament separately, to a streamer or to a part of the network package or whatever. It's a way to boost the overall broadcast deal. That's what it feels like to me. But people never like when you do new things. We didn't the play-in. People we complained about that initially. Like, oh, remember when it was the Warriors and the Lakers in the first round, the first play-in game ever? And I was like, you really want one of these teams to be out? Because normally this would be the 7th seed and this would be the 8th seed, right? I think the play-in tournament has been really fun in a lot of ways because it's given more teams hope for longer. But you saw 2 play-in teams go to the finals. I mean, not the finals, but the conference finals this year. The Lakers went from being in the play-in to the conference finals, and obviously Miami, but they would have been in the playoffs anyway.
Ramona,
so we haven't seen anyone in the 9-10 spot really would jump up there.
Ramona, I can't let you go without asking you about the guy. Now, some of the hype has died down since they shut him down after 2 summer league games, but the guy that everybody was talking about in Vegas, Victor Wembanyama, your first impressions of him against NBA competition, and I put that in air quotes, out there at the summer league. Yeah,
I think he's phenomenal, but I think we all need to just check ourselves a bit before we start thinking he's going to have that same kind of year that LeBron did when he was a rookie. I think LeBron averaged like 26 and 9 as a rookie. So I have to check that, but I think it was pretty good. Wemby, he played 44 games last year, 44 total. Okay, So in all competitions, he's 19. I mean, he's not. When LeBron came into the league, you felt like he had a man's body already. Yeah. Like Wemby, I feel like he's still got to grow into his body a little bit. Plus, I also think the Spurs are really going to protect him. So, what does all that mean? Like, I think he's going to be great, and he's going to be exciting for the league. I hope he stays healthy all year long. What do I put what's the over-under on how many games he plays? 50, 60? What do you think? I mean, we've been in the league. We know the Spurs, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about them
60,
earlier.
Yeah. Something like that. Like they're gonna be real cautious with him, even if he doesn't. He might fight back on it, but I care about him in year 10 as much as I care about him in year 1.
See, and this is a guy that's saying that the NBA is physical. I mean, not as physical, and he's talking about summer league. And then Draymond Green is letting him know, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, can you picture him next to Joel Embiid?
No. I can picture him under Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I mean, he's got like 80 pounds on him. Like, what we, like, there's going to be a Jokic. Like, I mean, Wemby's going to be amazing. I don't think he's ever going to be, like, big. He's never going to be he's not going to gain a tremendous amount of weight, but he's going to get stronger. Just same way Chet Holmgren got stronger. What? Chet gained like 13 pounds. That doesn't sound like a lot for a guy his size, but it's still 13 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know. I host radio in LA with Michael Thompson. He was putting up Ralph Sampson as comparison. I was like, that's a good comp. Ralph Sampson in terms of body type, game, like that's pretty good. I mean, I do think Wemby has those perimeter skills that we haven't seen on somebody his size since ever really. But Kevin Durant Kevin's listed at 6'10", but he's really 7 feet tall. Yeah. Isn't that funny? Like he's like Kevin's a 7-footer who can dribble and play on the perimeter. So that's the comps I think for Wembanyama if he can live up to that.
Ramona, let me go full circle, bring it back to the Kings. I don't know if you're a gambling person, but the first over-unders for next season have been put out, and they got the Kings taking a step back, 43.5 wins from the 48 they had last year. That's at DraftKings, and my guy Kenny here, he took a little bit of offense to that. He said that's a little bit disrespectful. How do you see the 43.5 number for the Kings?
That sounds low to me. I mean, what I wonder what that's based on. It's like, because usually if a team, they didn't lose, did they lose anybody really important? I mean, is that just a reflection on like, the rest of the Western Conference is better? I would agree with that. The rest of the conference is better, but so maybe your win total goes down, or really the one of the stories of Sacramento is they stayed relatively healthy last year. They didn't have like huge major injuries to star players that cost them huge chunks of the season like other teams did, right? So maybe it's just betting that doesn't happen again. I don't know, but I think with big young teams like that, there's something about cohesion. We just saw Denver do that.
Yeah.
The longer they're together, the better they learn how to play, the more they believe in themselves. Like I think Sacramento's a good team, but I wouldn't take 5 wins away from them.
That is Ramona Shelburne, catcher on the TV, on the radio, and, of course, senior writer for ESPN.com covering the NBA and the WNBA. Ramona, we really appreciate the time and the insight. Let's do it again soon.
Thank you. And she played softball in college. You look at you.
I did not know that.
She knew that. Really? I Googled her, man. You kidding me? I'm on it.
You still got a swing, Ramona? You still put that thing over the fence? Or?
Oh, do you want to hear a sad story?
Yeah, tell us.
Sure.
We are having like our radio station in LA. We're doing a softball game tomorrow. It's like we all play against each other and the listeners come out and all that. And everybody thinks I'm going to be real good. I'm like, you guys know I haven't played in like 5 years. I haven't swung a bat in like 5 years. Like I haven't been busy having babies and having a career and all that. And like, that's two babies and 1 back surgery in the last 5 years. I don't know how good I'm going to be, but I went to the cages the other day, and the swing looks good. Like when you watch it, you're like, okay, it looks like somebody who's played before, but there is absolutely no bat speed. Like I was like, where is the bat speed? Where does it go? I don't know.
I can't compare to that, but people trying to ask me if I still hoop, I'm like, no, I swing a golf club.
Yeah, man, it's a little different. Like that. I'm not gonna lie. I went to the cages. I hit like 5 rounds. I was like, I'm gonna need the ice afterwards. My arms are on fire.
Ramona, thanks for the time. Good luck in the softball game.
Yeah. Thank
you.
There's Ramona Shelburne joining us on the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Yeah, you did your research, man. Look at you.
Yeah, man. Come on. She follows me on Twitter. I didn't even. It's not like I message her and be like, "Hey, you coming on the show today? Like, you gotta follow me."
Does she know you're a fantasy football expert? Is she
aware?
Is
she go find out now?
We're gonna find out next, right